Welcome to this week's Motor Week. In the show, we're remembering that some of the best, nice, sophisticated, charming, powerful things come in small packages. Yeah, there's me, obviously, but I'm talking about super minis. Coming up, we check out a tidy little motor, well, smart car anyway. I try my luck with the new Seat Ibiza in Spain, and Chris Goffey puts his microscope on the Mini factory in Cowley. So less of this small talk, let's move straight to the action.
1976 was a very good year. Not only was it my 4th birthday, wahey! But it saw the start of the small car revolution with the launch of the Ford Fiesta Mark I in response to the fuel crisis they were having at the time. Since 76 there's been 3 completely new Fiestas and several facelifts, but all of them have been extremely successful and have made Fiesta a household name. So we've had the Mark I, the 2, the 3, the 4 and the Mark V. Well, now it's 2002 and time for the Mark VI Fiesta. Since 1976, there's been a staggering 10 million Fiestas built worldwide. It's one of the top 3 best-selling UK cars, and apparently 1 in 3 people have owned a Fiesta at some time. You can put me on that list. But despite the Fiesta's huge success, there was one big problem Ford had to address with this little car. Space. Now that sounds like a contradiction in terms, but nowadays if a Super Mini is going to succeed, it's going to be big. And if you've driven the new Polo or Corolla, you'll know exactly what I mean. Well, first off, in the boot there is more space than the previous model, and now the rear wheel arches don't intrude too much into the boot space. Now Ford do tell me that you can get a couple of bags of golf clubs in here, but as I don't play golf myself, I'm going to have to take their word for it. Now, one niggle that Ford haven't changed on this new car is the fact that even when it's unlocked, you can't get into the boot without the key or pressing the button inside. So not only will you need the strength of Goliath to hold your shopping, but also the dexterity of Kung Fu Master to press the little button on the back. Now inside the new Fiesta, the general feeling is of space. There's loads of headroom, room for your shoulders and your legs, and the steering wheel is adjustable to get your perfect driving position. Now between you and me, my closest friends know me as Freak Man. That's not for any weird perversions I've got, honest. It's the fact that when I'm driving a small car, they can't fit behind me. But in the back of this car, they wouldn't have a problem. Now don't forget, it's unlikely that I'd ever be mistaken for a little leprechaun, being 6'4", but it's still reasonably comfy here, and there's nice cutouts in the front seats to give you a bit more knee room. So alright, this might not make a tour bus for a travelling basketball team, but it's still pretty impressive for a Super Mini. In this power-mad, performance-crazy world of cars, it's actually quite refreshing that one of the most eagerly awaited new models of 2002 is a Fiesta. Now, although prices haven't been fixed yet for this all-new model, they shouldn't be too dissimilar to the current Fiesta range. So you won't need Mr. Beckham's wages to buy one. Now, one thing Fiesta has never had a problem with has been handling. In fact, for years it set the benchmark for handling in this class of car. Well, once again, Ford say they've taken that benchmark and then improved it. And I've got to say that first impressions on this Mark VI are pretty impressive. It feels very stable and actually as solid as many a bigger car. And in fact, even when you start to push it and have a bit of fun with it, it still remains very stable and doesn't ever really get skittish like you get with some Super Minis. Now, although this is quite a light car and it's got power steering, you still feel quite involved, and the wheel is quite weighty, so you do actually feel as though you're doing something when you're going around the corners. And the brakes as well, we've got discs at the front and drums at the rear, which do the job very well, and believe me, in Spain you need good brakes because they all drive like maniacs. Engine wise, there's a choice of 4 in the range. You've got 3 petrols, a 1.3, 1.4 and a 1.6, plus there'll be a 1.4 turbo diesel available. Fuel economy across the range, as you'll expect, is pretty good. Now, the one we've got today is the 1.4. Power wise, it pushes out just under 80 brake and it will get you to 60 in about 13 seconds, which ain't bad. Now, when it goes on sale in April, there will be a choice of trim levels on the Fiesta, and the one we've got today is the gear, which will give you a few extra whistles and bells like electric heated seats. You get a few more airbags, a CD player, and on the outside, alloy wheels and fog lamps. On the looks front, Ford haven't exactly broken the mould with the Fiesta. It's pretty much identical to its bigger brother, the Focus. Now, whilst that gives the new car a Ford family image, it may disappoint those who like their cars to be cute and funky, like Citroen's lovely C3. So style-wise, you're not going to be making any statements with this new car. But it's a Fiesta. You don't buy it to make statements. What you buy it for is to get yourself to work or uni, pick the kids up from school, get your shopping in, pick up your pension, or nip out on a Saturday night with your mates. All of which I'm confident this car will do supremely well. Plus, there's talk of in the future mini MPV versions and hopefully an RS performance version. We'll have to wait and see. But on the whole, I don't think there's any doubt that this car is good enough for the Fiesta to hold on to its crown as the UK's best-selling super mini.
Press from around the world focused on the Detroit Auto Show for the North American Truck and Car of the Year announcement. After months of secrecy, it was lights, camera and sealed envelope, please. The best truck was the Chevy Trailblazer, which to the untrained British eye looks like many other stateside trucks, while the car of the year is the Nissan Altima, which is really a pumped up bigger Primera. Going to the Detroit show for us is like entering a parallel universe of some sort, as both of these winners are of course not on sale in the UK. But there are plenty more cars of direct interest to us. Why, there's one of ours over there. The new Bentley Arnage T has been unveiled at Detroit as the world's fastest saloon car, and with 450 bhp under that gargantuan bonnet, or should we say hood, who's to argue?
Bentley is famed for producing high power, very high torque engines, and with the twin turbos on this car, the 450 brake horsepower of power and the 875 newton meters of torque, it takes that to new levels. So high power, very high torque engines, and we believe, yes, it takes it to a new benchmark level for Bentley.
Although the Bentley is still lovingly handcrafted back in Blighty, this model is the first to be designed almost entirely by computer. And it's been designed to appeal to a younger age group than of old.
I hope they're wowed when they sit in this car and when they feel the power and performance that comes through the car. I'm sure that'll convince them to write the check.
Arnage is the name of a curve, a bend on the circuits of La Sarthe at Le Mans, where Bentley made its name in the 1930s and has returned to that race 71 years later last year with a podium finish. And I think that link is a real tribute to the engine that is in the Arnage T and the car itself.
Meanwhile, Brit Peter Horbury is the man behind the awesome design of the new Volvo XC90. Called a sports utility vehicle in the States, this really has been one of the big stars of the show. As it looks great, it's highly practical too, seats 7 people comfortably, thanks to clever design thinking.
Behind the driver, the seats in the second row operate totally independent of each other. They can be moved forward and back as you wish. And the centre seat is for children. That can move way up front, so the child can sit next to its parents. And in the third row, even if we expect it mostly to be used by children, if people move up a little bit in front, 7 adults can travel for a certain distance in reasonable comfort.
If anyone ever tells you that at Volvo they just roll cars out of the factory, well here you're right. This roll test shows the strength of the XC90's chassis, which uses boron and is accompanied by a whole load of new safety technologies, including side airbags that go off intelligently, in other words, only when required and at precisely the right inflation. Plus there's the traction control. Here's our XC90 about to encounter some pesky ice patch. The AWD system monitors the vehicle's contact with the underlying road surface. In normal driving on dry roads, almost all of the power is delivered to the front wheels. If the road surface causes the front wheels to slip, then power is proportionately diverted to the rear wheels. Clever, eh? After the break, we'll be checking out a sparky little Seat.
Just off Oxford's busy ring road stands the BMW plant where they're making the new Mini. Of course, a plant of great historical significance. William Morris built his first car here in 1913, and between 1958 and 1969 they built nearly 750,000 of the old Mini here at Cowley. Well, today things have changed. This is no longer a Morris plant, obviously, or even a BMC plant, or a British Leyland plant, or even a Rover Group plant. Now it's BMW's baby, and they're building the Mini. Let's see how they go about it. We're really quite privileged today. The inside of this plant has been a pretty well guarded secret since Mini launch in June last year. We're just about the first camera crew to be allowed this far down the line. When the bodies arrive from the body assembly plant, this is where Mini starts to come together, and all the components are screwed in to make the final car. Mini body shell has been designed to create unprecedented levels of rigidity. It's very strong. A twisting force of 24,500 newtons has to be applied to the body to flex it through 1 degree, and that's 3 times stronger than the competition. It's always a frustration in car factories that you see cars going down the line that you can't have. This is the new Mini Cooper S. We won't be able to buy it until spring at the earliest in 2002. Installing bonded windscreens into body shells was always a highly skilled job and difficult to avoid leaks if the adhesive wasn't properly applied. Here in Oxford, the whole thing is done by robot. As anybody who's squashed under a car on a dusty garage floor can tell you, working underneath is one of the most difficult things to do. And in most car production centres, it means you're standing under the car body, hands up, doing final assembly. Here on the Mini plant, they simply roll the car on its side. You can do all the underside, and when it's finished, the car rolls back again to the upright position. As in all modern car assembly plants, everything that could possibly be pre-assembled is done. The entire dashboard, for instance, goes in one unit. Now, if you've ever sweated blood and tears in your garage struggling to get an engine out of a car, just look at this. The engine gearbox, front assembly, wishbones, brakes, everything is simply elevated up into the engine bay by robots, and then it's bolted in place by the robots too. Human hand never touches it. If only things could be this easy in your garage. And labour saving is in evidence everywhere. You don't even have to pick up a wheel to put it on. A machine can lift it for you. And hanging a door isn't a complicated operation if you know that the fits are guaranteed. Simply hang it on, do up the electric window connections, Bob's your uncle. So here you are, the Mini's on the end of the line, and it's that magic moment when it started up for the first time and effectively comes to life. And the crowning glory, that magic badge on the bonnet. So Martina, really a nightmare start for Mini production here at Oxford. It was never intended to be built here.
It wasn't, but I would say it's a nightmare turned into a dream. Yes, it's correct, it wasn't meant to be built here at Oxford. So we had a very tight time schedule to get the production facilities into the factory here. We had to remove all the Rover 75 production line and then start from scratch putting Mini production facilities into place. But we managed it on time, and we also managed to hit all our quality targets on time so that we didn't have to delay the launch of the car, which obviously was very important to us.
And you spent a lot of money here.
We have indeed. We've spent £230 million for the new facilities at Oxford. We had the buildings of an old factory. We had to put the new production line with new technology into the plant here at Oxford. And we've done that now, and it's working fine. And we're now starting to look at the outside appearance of the plant as the next stage.
If the car's a great success when it launches in America and Japan this year, will you be able to build enough Minis here?
Yes, we've got the option, we've got an agreement with our workforce and the trade unions that in principle we can run the factory 24 hours a day on 7 days a week. We just have to negotiate the shift pattern for that. So there is room there, and we'll have to look at the market demand over there, but reactions have been very positive in Japan and the States, so we're very optimistic.
10,000 cars registered so far, a 2 to 3 month wait for delivery, and when sales in America and Japan take off, this factory is going to be flat out for the foreseeable future.
Okay, so this week we're looking at city-sized cars, and even though I still believe size really doesn't matter in an urban environment, if you're going to go small, you may as well go all the way. The MMC Smart is being seen more and more around our towns and cities these days, and even though it may seem a luxury to buy, the running costs really are small, and so far reports show the Smart to be pretty reliable. Here are all the parts that make up the Smart. It is a clever piece of engineering which was set up to rival the French Ligier range of tiny tootlers. It's only in the last few months that the Smart has been available in right-hand drive in the UK, but they're still selling the left-hand drive version, and to be honest, the thing's so small it doesn't make that much difference which side the wheel's on. It really is fun to drive if you can put up with the bouncy suspension, thinly padded seats and non-power assisted steering. It's got plenty of pep though, unless you've got two very fat adults inside. And hey, Sterling Moss has got 2 of these in his Mayfair garage, so they can't be all that bad on the performance front. This is a city car that makes a statement, and on the website or in a showroom you can customise to the extreme with extra clip-on plastic panels, cup holders, logoed side panels and even snow chains and a ski rack. However, you will find that the price rises dramatically from the base right-hand drive price tag of about £6,000 to about 12.5 if you really go bananas on the options list. But the bright side is tiny running costs. The thing runs virtually on fresh air and has an insurance group of only 2. Yes, 2. The Smart looks to be a smart buy, but think carefully about what you need your car for. It is great for running around urban environments, but it is only a 2-seater. There's a tiny luggage space, and it really is very noisy on the motorway. Come on then, let's see what you got. Yeah, I know. But you can't get much more Spanish than this, can you? We're in Spain. The car is a Seat made in Spain, and it's called the Ibiza. Mind you, I've said it's Spanish through and through. That's not strictly correct, because the guy who designed it, William de Silva, also designed the extremely Italian Alfa Romeo 156. And underneath this very Spanish car is the same platform you'll find in the Skoda Fabia and the VW Polo, both not very Spanish at all. And that gives you a clue as to what the car is about, because it is very much a cross between Alfa Romeo's rather subdued but very sharp styling and those built to last forever kind of rock solid feel you get from a German engineered car. In terms of styling both inside and out, you really can see that Alfa touch. Don't know why it's kind of crisp, clear, sharp lines, not overly ornate, not too many fiddly twiddly bits, but it looks good. And inside particularly, it's very much a cross between an Alfa Romeo and a Volkswagen. These twin vents in the centre, real Alfa touch. They're really sporty feel to the dials. Actually, they look waterproof. I don't quite understand those. Again, very Alfa, but all made to feel German. It'll last a long time. And to drive, well, that Skoda, Fabia, VW Golf and now Seat Ibiza platform is very, very competent. So you'd expect it to be good, and it is. It feels very well pinned down. I particularly like the ride on this version. I don't know that they'll all be this firm, because it's very sporty feeling and a bit crashy maybe for some people's taste, but I like it. It feels planted. Engine-wise, we've got a 130 brake horsepower turbo diesel in this particular one, which is, we're told, the most powerful diesel in this class of car. And it's a stonker. It even sounds sporty and good. And it is a sporty drive, loads of mid-range. It will pull from no revs, and still at motorway speed, 70 miles an hour, you can barely hear the thing. That, of course, is helped along, as will economy be, by the fact that it is a 6-speed gearbox. Nice and very easy to use. It's a good box, good clunky, quick shifting change. It's actually a very pleasant thing to drive. In terms of criticisms, the steering is maybe a bit woolly about the straight ahead. It's not exactly a precise instrument, but let's not forget, this isn't pretending to be a Lotus Elise. It's still a practical little car. That's it for this week, but next week we're saving our pennies to splash out on budget coupes. See you then.